This is the Oral History Microphone again. I'm Ray Mofield, and we're visiting today in Hardin. And we're visiting the home of Mary Starks. Thank you, Miss Starks, for letting me come.
Thank you, thank you.
It's
Glad
always
to
a
have you
pleasure
here.
to visit in the homes of Marshall Countyans and to talk to them about their background, their history, their families, their genealogy, and so on. Were you born in Marshall County?
Sure was. Born right about 4 miles between Hardin and Benton.
All right,
Yeah.
so you've been here about all your life.
Yes, yes. Born on Sunday morning, they said.
Well, that's a good day to be born on, the Lord's Day.
Yeah, that sure was. Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
now tell me your father's name.
Hence Darnell. He went. That was a given name. His name was Henry Burnett.
Henry Burnett.
Burnett. Yeah.
And he had a nickname.
Yeah.
called him
Hence. Yeah, he
Okay.
went by the Hence. Yeah.
All right, and your mother's maiden name was,
Peterson.
she was a Peterson.
Uh-huh.
I remember, wasn't there a Peterson store in Benton? I believe there was. I remember a
don't know.
boy named J.D. Peterson, anyway. He used to fly an airplane.
Oh, no, I don't know him,
And-
huh?
He excited people, if I'm remembering correctly. He just about alarmed the whole neighborhood when he flew under the Tennessee River Bridge
Oh,
one time.
mercy. Mm-mm. Well, that flying is easy, but it's high-priced riding, I can tell you.
Well, I wouldn't want to have been with him going under the bridge.
Well, I don't know. I would just soon been there as anywhere else, I guess.
You'd been a thrill. Well,
Yes,
good.
yes. I went down to North Carolina this last summer and visited my daughter. I've got a daughter in North Carolina, one in St. Louis, and
You fly to see them sometimes?
yes, I went down there and stayed a week with my daughter. She had cancer of the breast, and she's had an awful time.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, and that's an awful disease, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Oh, sure it is. And then I've got a
I
daughter.
fear it very much. My mother died from it.
Oh, no. Well, I reckon there's a lot of suffering. I said, well, I've suffered, but I'm not going to grumble about it. For I
Well-
know they suffer terrible. My girl in St. Louis can't walk. She just drags her feet, and they tell her she can't walk.
Mm.
And they say,
Well, that is
they'll ask
bad.
me when I would go to church, they say, how are you? I said, I'm fine. Ain't no use in asking her how she is. She's always fine. I said, I am. If I can walk across the street or walk in the house, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Look at them in the wheelchairs. I said, I think I'm fine if I don't have to go in a wheelchair. One up here to the center this morning. I went up there and had breakfast with them. I always go and help them, but I wasn't able to help them, so I turned sick up there and laid down a while. And so they said, well, there ain't no ham for breakfast. I said, well, I'm not too hungry no way. Well, we just, what do you want? I said, fry me an egg, scrambled good and done, and I'll just take a cake of sausage and a biscuit and preserves. I eat sweets with my food
Mm-hmm.
and don't sweeten my coffee.
Well,
And I drank one glass of coffee or cup, whatever you'd call it, and that was small, and that was enough. That's plenty.
do you happen to remember either set of your grandparents?
Well, we lived in the house with Dad's father up till he passed away, Philip Darnell.
Philip Darnell.
Yeah, Philip Darnell. Yeah, that's right. And
Wonder how many Darnolds there have been in Marshall County.
oh, me
Hundreds of
name called Darnell. He's bought, I counted 17 houses here in Hardin that he bought. He ain't no carpenter. I bought this place from him. He come down and says, Mary, this is the very place for you. Right here close to the church and post office and everything. And says, you need it. I said, what do you want for it? He told me, and he said, don't let him sell it to you, though, till you see some of the boys. I said, they ain't going to pay for it. I'll have to pay for it myself. What do they want to see me for? Well, I went to Murray and met the youngest boy. And he come down and said, well, Mama, I don't think you'll be hurt. Said, everything's awful handy to you. I said, when are you going to make the deed? He said, Monday morning. I said, okay, I'll be down here and take you to Benton. We'll have it made. So we did, and I went back home and I told Bernard, I said, well, Bernard, I've sold my place. And he didn't answer me for a long time. He said, "Oh, Mama," I said, "I sure miss you. I sure will miss you." I said, "Son, I won't be but over 3 miles from you. You can come anytime you want to." So he keeps me in green onions and any kind of vegetable he's got. Freezer's full in there.
Uh-huh.
So I just got a little old freezer at the top of my, much as I need though. My children's awful. I'll tell you, you may not believe it, I've had 8 children, Hal, I did, and I've never been in a hospital.
Well, that's something to be thankful for, isn't
Oh, you ain't a kidding, it is. But I don't know, these here shingles sure get a fella, I can tell you that. The pain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've taken 3 easing pills. Brother Hicks just come in. You know him.
it? Yes.
And I said, I said, "Oh, I'm suffering so bad. I just feel so sick. I just can't sit up." And I said, "Come right on in. Let's have a prayer. Maybe I'll get better." So we did, and he left. And I said, "Well, we went to Illinois on the weekend." And I said, "I bet there's a ball game up there, for they like ball games, or he does." So I never did ask him. I told him I'd bought a rose bush up here at the center. "Now you let some of the boys come and sit there out for you." I said, "Boys, they won't even know I've got it." I said, "I'll take it out of that." I set it right out there by that tree so I could sit in that chair and look at it.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move along to your grade school education. Now, did you go to a one-room country school?
One-room country school.
Where would that have been?
Been Church Grove down there, right on top of a hill, in the Methodist church, right under, down the hill. And
Now, they've moved that Methodist church a little bit, haven't they?
I just don't know where it's at now. Out on the highway, is
Well,
it?
it's on the highway, and it's at the top of the hill, but I think it used to be down nearer the sinkhole, didn't it?
Yeah, it used to be, yeah. Well, anyway, that's where I went to school, and every time that meeting began, you know, they'd get up all of us children and march us down there. And the floor had straw on it, I think.
Well,
And oh me.
there were a lot of things we did when I went to Blakely. We sang
Yeah.
Glory, Hallelujah,
Yeah.
and we had a prayer, and we did a Bible verse every day.
Well, I
But-
don't think that happened in my school, but we did sing. They always called on me to lead the sing.
You were a right good singer then. You must have been, or they wouldn't have called on
I
you.
don't know. I can just remember that so well, standing up there leading them songs.
Do you remember any of your teachers?
Oh, yes, I guess. Now, did you ever know Will Edwards?
I certainly did. Will Edwards. I
He
remember
was down
him.
3 years, wasn't he, bedfast?
Well, I'd forgotten about that, but I
Yeah.
know that is Ned Edwards' uncle.
Yeah, and
I
he
used
got-
to see him around Hardin.
Well, he had his wife to get the picture, and you know he married Lottie, Sid's wife's sister.
Sid Darnell's.
Wife's sister,
Uh-huh.
Lottie,
Uh-huh.
and this one was Pearl. Well, my sister, and said, "Now, I want you to have that there picture whenever I pass away," Pearl told her to give it to me, and so she gave it to me after she passed away. And I could name everyone. He had him bring it to the bed. Says, "I want you to name everyone on this year book." I named every one of them but one, and she was a little, her name was Woods, I believe. I can't think. And Helen Peeler and all such as that. I don't guess you remember none of them. So, got all them. And Dalton Cross was one of my teachers.
Oh, now I remember Mr. Cross. I
Yeah.
remember when my dad was in the hospital, I believe his wife was over at long-term care maybe, and
Yeah,
he'd
I
walk
think
over
so.
every day very faithfully to visit his wife.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. I can just remember seeing him in the hospital there, visiting folks. And visiting his wife, I guess, for one. So,
He was very faithful to go see her. I remember that.
that's right. Sure was. And Ada Loud.
Oh, now I know Miss Ada. She lived out toward Brewers.
Yeah, I know
And
that.
let's see, that's
That there's Uncle Jess Darnold's daughter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Uncle Jess Darnold.
So there comes some more Darnolds.
Yeah, more Darnolds, that's right. I never heard like a Darnolds and Joneses.
Now, she had a son named Jesse, I remember. I believe Jesse Lyles.
I don't remember her
Has
children.
a wife named Hester.
Well, didn't she have 3 children?
Well, maybe she did. I don't know. I just happen to know Jesse pretty well.
Yeah, I don't remember the others myself.
But I think she's still living, isn't she?
Uh,
As far as I've heard, she still is. And
Jesse,
getting up in years.
well,
Well, you had 3 wonderful teachers there.
yeah, that's right. There sure was. And then Garfield.
Garfield Cope?
Yeah, and what was his wife, Miss?
Now, I don't remember that, but I know he was related to my mother.
Is that right? Well, Claire. Yeah.
My great-grandmother was Ely Cope Edwards,
Yeah.
and
Now, what related are you to Uncle Hal Edwards?
Uncle Hal was my great-grandfather.
Is that right? See, we didn't live far from him. Oh, yeah. So,
Now, your husband was Hal Stark?
yeah,
Did you have a son named Lowell?
I sure did. That's our oldest boy, and he passed away when he was 15. You know, he was faithful in the Lord. He come around,
And did you have a son named Neil?
yeah, I have 7 children living, 3 boys and 4 girls.
Well, now, I went to school with those 2 at Blakely.
Well, they said they knew him. I said, I never did see him. I wouldn't know him if he's come to the door, and I ain't going to let no strange fella come in. And they
But
said,
they
"Boy."
said they knew me.
Yeah, they knew me. And I said, well, I don't know whether he's a slim-looking fella. I said,
Well, I'm not as slim as I was when I was in grade school.
no. You know, they didn't grade the cards then. Whenever I went to school, I just went to advanced geography, advanced history.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. So, didn't even have grade cards then to even grade you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was married and I was 17. So,
Well, you seem to have done right well, even if you did marry at 17.
Yeah.
My mother was 16 when she married, so.
That's what a lady told me, come in here the other day. So I married when I was 16. Said, had 1 more year than you did. But I said, well, it wasn't all bed of roses, but I said, we as a happy family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd go to bed and we had to upstairs. And I was sick at the time they was building the house. I said, I want some closets. I said, there ain't a closet on this place. And so I had to go right upstairs, from the living room upstairs. And I said, I hate that door being there. So the fella bought it, took that door down. And I was up there one day and I said, you took that door down and just shut that up. I said, that's what I wanted, but I didn't get it done. And he said, you want the door? I said, yeah, guess so if you don't want it. And I brought it home with me, put it in the back of the car and brought it home. And give it to them over here. Naaman Turner, do you know him?
I don't think so.
No.
I probably know him if I saw him, but
Well, I was hanging out clothes, and kids, a year or 2 ago, I loved to mow yards, always did. And I stayed on the farm a year after he passed away, and I said, well, I just think I'll just go down and move down there then. I brought all kinds of flowers from the farm, you know. Hal thought lots of flowers, too. So he's just as deep on the flowers as
what
I
is
was.
his father's name?
Jeff.
Jeff.
Jeff Starks.
Uh-huh.
One-eyed. He rode a horse and went under a limb. And that limb hit his eye and put it out. And he just had one eye.
What year did you marry?
In 1915, I think now. I won't
Now,
be for sure.
how did you come to meet Mr. Stark?
I think it was to candy breaking.
Tell us what a candy breaking was.
You never did go to candy breaking.
Oh, I think I have, but we're talking to the people on the tape now.
Well, they had great big dishpan full of candy, you know, dishpan, great big.
Was it Divinity or?
No, just stick candy, broke up, you know, all colors, striped and
Yeah.
all colors. And so Hal and I got the same color, and I didn't even show it to him. I didn't know what kind of color. He showed then what it was. I said, I ain't going to show mine. I did, and we had a wrestling about. You know, they say you have to kiss them if you get the one just alike.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, I don't need you to kiss me. And so we had it up and down. I don't know whether he ever did kiss me or not. You never know. Ain't Martha Ann Edwards?
Martha Ann Edwards.
Johnny Benny Edwards' mother.
I don't immediately.
I don't guess
think of
that's a way back yonder. You don't know how old I am.
Well, no, I really don't. You must be at least 39, though.
Well, I'm 89, but I don't seem like I ought to be.
89. Well, you're remarkably well preserved in appearance.
You
look about, no more than 70, I'd say.
Oh, no, now. Oh, no. You believe that. Well, I'm 89, and I just hope the Lord will give me lift like and renew my driver license. I'll be 90.
Mm-hmm.
You know Solon Darnell?
Yes, I do know.
Him and his wife and Howard Darnell drove up in a great big, well, you couldn't see who was in there. And I thought, who in the world could that be? And he rang the doorbell, and of course I knew him, and I said, my me, I couldn't guess who you all was in that, I'd say, a hearse.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they bought that, and they took grandkids on vacations, you know, and they put them all in there and just take them around. And
That made a good station wagon.
yeah, that's right, sure did. My family's all over there on that Dalvinette, but I don't guess you...
Oh, the pictures,
Yeah,
yes.
the pictures.
I see. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, now that's a fine-looking family. Do all of your children live nearby? And I know Neil lives on the road between here and Benton, Murray.
Yeah. Well, he can get here in a few minutes, but J.B., now, do you know him?
Is that Bernard?
No, Bernard lives out on the farm,
Uh-huh.
and he keeps in Green Onion Street.
Yeah. Now, J.B., I don't guess I know him.
Well,
Where does
he's
he live?
right up about 5 minutes drive.
Uh-huh.
He's the closest one that is here.
Now, you had some daughters also?
4 daughters and 4 boys.
Where did they live?
Well,
Are they
2 of them works at Murray Hospital, and 2 of them's in Mary Jo's in North Carolina, and Betty Jean lives in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
She married a Burnett. So they're scattered, but
Well, you go up there every now and then.
yeah. Her name,
Now, what's your youngest daughter's name?
Glenda Brooks Murphy.
And she lives in this area?
Yeah, all my children lives back here with me. 7 of them.
You like that, of course.
Oh, mercy, yes, I
Now, let me
do.
ask you, do you have any grandchildren?
Oh, yes, I've got 12 great-grandchildren, I believe it is, and 12 grandchildren. Yeah, 12 grandchildren.
12 and 12. That makes
Now, I believe I've got more.
a double dozen there.
Yeah, well, there's sure a lot of them whenever it comes. They always come on Thanksgiving and on Christmas, and I fix for them. But I ain't fixed for nobody down here. Says, Mama, they said something about fixing my birthday and come in. I said, come ahead. Eat anywhere you want to. There'll be houses when we're dead and gone. So they didn't. They said, oh, Mama ain't able. They rented the place up here at the senior citizens. You ever go up there and eat ham breakfast? They have it every Tuesday in the month.
I've been twice.
You have?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I didn't go very early this morning, for I didn't feel like having them do anything, and I was like, I'm just going to go up there and eat. But this had done sold all the ham out. And I said, oh, well, let me have a cake of sausage. I'll do take that and be okay. So I took a cake of sausage and
Now, you said you thought you were married about 1915. Tell us how much money do you think it took for you to get started housekeeping?
well, Hal worked one day for Bill Spann and got a little box stove. And it was, I think he got it for $2.50. And he'll come down here to Hardin and bought a bedstead and give $35 for it, I believe. And I raised geese and had big feather bed.
So you provided your own feather bed.
I sure did. And I tell you something.
Did you quilt any quilts?
Oh, that's my hobby, is piecing quilts. Yeah.
Have you heard of this show they have at Paducah once a year now?
No.
Well, I believe it's in April every year. At the Executive Inn, they've been having a world-class quilt show.
Yeah?
And they bring, hundreds of quilts from all over America
Yeah.
and display them.
Oh, they're beautiful. Oh,
I believe the paid admission this year was about 18,000 people a day.
oh, mercy me.
So you need to go to that next year, and
Yeah, yeah.
maybe you could enter a
Well,
quilt in it.
I couldn't drive down to Paducah if it took my life. Kids can't stand me to drive to Murray. And I used to drive all over Murray and peddle milk.
Well, I might take you, or Bernard might take you. Or,
No, he's had a heart attack and he don't drive no
well, now,
more.
Neil retired because
Well,
of
now
bad
he can
health,
drive
didn't he?
down here, but now he don't drive nowhere else. And drives down to the trailer court down there. Them's my grandkids.
Uh-huh.
2 boys of his, yeah. He drives down there. And that's Lillian Pace. Did you know her?
Well, it seems that I ought to.
You should.
Now, you didn't have to have a home freezer.
No.
Didn't have to have an automatic washer and dryer.
Well, I had a washer and dryer, but it's a ringing type. You had to watch them buttons or they'd come off.
Uh-huh.
You'd have to turn them in to fold them up, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I had John Crosby. You know him?
Oh, yes, I know John.
Well, he
Crosby.
comes up over here. He always brought the ice out for us, you know. We had a little old box. I was about that big, and he'd bring 50 pounds every. I don't know how often he'd come. Seemed to me like he's just once a week. I don't know whether one would last that long or not. It's 50 pound, big old block.
Well, the boxes were insulated pretty well. I don't remember just how long it lasted either.
No, but we was proud to have that.
Oh, of course
yeah,
you were.
Proud to have it.
I don't think we ever had an ice box. We did without anything until we got a refrigerator. We'd let the milk down in the well in a long, slender bucket. Did you ever see that done?
I had a hole dug out there. It was like a grave, and it was deep.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd let them 3-gallon milk down in that cistern and let them get really cold.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'd have to bring them up, you know, I don't know how many churns I'd churn of a morning. There's a house got to leaking in one place, and I was sitting there churning, and Hal never did left to climb nowhere, and he said, well, I'll churn that milk if you'll climb up the house and patch that roof up there. I said, okay, I'd be glad to get out of this churning. We had churned about 5 big churns every morning on Wednesday. 5 big churns, and I'd get all that butter out of there and let it down, let it get really cold, and I'd draw it up the night before I started to Murray. And I'd work all that milk out of it. It was pure butter now. It wasn't no milk in it.
Mm-hmm.
And law me, and I sold, I had to keep a book, lots of them. In some places, I went over to Niggertown. There's good to buy, but some of it's so nasty. And we went in one place, and Lord says, She says, well, I've got a cake big, little, so I wouldn't eat a piece of that cake at all, Mama.
Well,
Mother.
let me ask you, since we only have a couple of more minutes' time, do you have any funny stories that you can remember that happened to you when you first had to cook a meal? Did you know how to cook then?
Oh, yes.
Your mother had brought you up to do those things, so.
No, she did not. She always made biscuits every morning, a pile of them. But now, there's 9 in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 9 of us. And so I said, well, I wanted a big family too, just like Mother. And I had 9. And Lowell, now, he packed his little testament, and I still got it in his back pocket. And Hal said every time we stopped to sit down and rest, he'd open it. And he is going to make Church of Christ preacher. And, Mason, what was his name? Him and another boy says, let's make Church of Christ preacher. And Miller, that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Miller. And so I don't know whether he ever did make a preacher or not, but Lord passed away. He was baptized. He come home one night. He walked through the field and went to Arbor meeting. Come in, he said, Mama, I'm going to be baptized in the morning. And I said, or either it's not one, I don't know which, in a pond. And I said, well, do you know what for? He said, Mama, I know one thing, if I pass away, I'll be lost.
So you didn't stand in his way?
No, sir, I sure didn't. And Sister Pearl says, I think that's the reason she can take life here out much better, knowing that he's there.
Yeah.
And he said, well, if I live around here and close, put me in Cole Campground Church, and there's where he's at, and I'll be put right between him and my husband.
Well, thank you so much for letting me come, Miss Mary. It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Thanks.
Remembering some of the old days and realizing that I went to school with a couple of your sons.
Yeah, and one of my sons, teachers, was Garfield Cope, I believe.
Yes.
And what was his wife's name? Garfield and...
that I can't help you with, but I do know I've heard my mother say she went to school to him, and he was a cousin of hers.
Oh, well, I do know. And my mother was... Her mother was named Hannah. I think that's a pretty name.
We've been visiting today with our oral history microphone in the city of Hardin, and we've been visiting with Mary Starks. This is Ray Mofield speaking. We return you now to our studio.